My good friends, my joy and privilege it is to be with you again this morning and just to enjoy the very grace and the love and the presence of the living God. Well, it's summer in Kentucky. It's hot today. It's going to be, I think it's a close to 90. So we're enjoying the summer now, and it's my joy and privilege to enjoy the summer of God's love with you this morning. But the more I read the Bible, the more I realize how little I know. Because, every time I read, I see something more. And I'm back in the book of Romans. But, I saw something that I didn't really see before. I saw it, but I didn't recognize it, for what it really was, for what the depth of it is. And I read in Romans 4 where Paul talked about the promise of God to Abraham. Now, and then suddenly I realized something that the integrity of the promise did not lie with the receiver. It lied with the one who made the promise, because God promised. Abraham believed God, and believing God was the act of faith that would bring forth the promise of God, that bring forth the reality of the promise, that would bring the promise to fruition. And then I realized then what Paul was really saying here. He was talking about how Abraham's faith was imputed to him for righteousness. In other words, it established his standing with God. And so our standing with God is not dependent upon our works or what we do. Our standing with God is dependent upon whether we believe him or not. Because the promise God made to Abraham was the promise of the impossible. God said to him, "You're going to have a boy," but he couldn't have one. He was too old, right? But the promise of God is not dependent on our state or our abilities or our talents. The promise of God